All right, so got the 22R pulled out of this thing. Got most of the wiring out of the way since I'm not going to really use much of it. I did leave this little bit of pigtail here that goes to the lighting and whatnot. A lot of this stuff I may incorporate into the 3RZ swap, like the alternator plug. I'm going to need some of that key power stuff. But other than that, got her all cleaned up a little bit. I actually took a pressure washer to it. Don't tell my friends, they'll fall over, not know who the hell I am. But so anyhow, we got this all ready to go. So I think next what I'm going to do is I'll swap the bell housing over, put the 3RZ bell housing on here, and then we can work on getting these bad boys put on. So I got these aftermarket engine mounts to save myself an enormous amount of time. So we'll once I get the bell housing swapped over, I think we'll move on to popping these on and see what all that entails. Gotta hop in there and get this thing fucking knocked out. Okay. Wow. Alright. Off with the 22R bell housing. And on with the 3RZ bell housing. Oh, you son of a bitch. Damn it. Well, damn it all. Alright. The dowel pin's still in the bell housing and still in the transmission. Alright, alright. It's time to bolt this clutch back on because I changed my mind on what I'm doing. I realized that putting a used clutch in here and putting the engine in probably is not a very wise decision, but it's a financial decision, not a logical decision. What can I say? All right. So now I need to take the old mounts off and yeah, like that I'm not. Okay, out with the old. For those of you wondering, I bought these from Toy Only Swaps. They're not a sponsor or nothing, but they were the affordable ones of the bunch on the internet. And all the research that I did, basically everybody's mounts are all about the same. So it just basically came down to a price point with me, quite honestly. And I'm a retard. How about we put the correct one on? Good Lord. That'll work just a-okay. And I'm going to use the stock mounts. Let's tighten this up real quick. Alright. Sweet. Gotta like just being able to bolt stuff in. Yes. Okay. So as you saw, I got the clutch bolted on. I got the engine mount done. This side's kind of hard to see, so that's why I didn't film it while I was doing it. Anyhow, got that on. Got this mount on. So I think we'll try and throw this thing in there and see See how cooperative this thing is. Okay, so I got the engine mostly in there. It's got a little ways to go in the back to go in the clutch, but it's sitting in there pretty nicely. So the first issue I've ran across, and it's kind of a biggie, is the oil pan and steering clearance. The last time we did this, we did it on a lifted truck. This is completely stock, and as you can see, the steering and the oil pan are not going to be able to, well, they're going to occupy the same space. So that's the first issue. Is for now, is I'm going to go ahead and lift the body or lift the frame up enough so I can put the pan on, put the engine in, and I'll leave it on the lift, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do. Either pan or steering linkage, one or the other's got to change. So, but anyhow, it looks pretty nice in there. So we'll plug along here in just a second. Let me do a little troubleshooting. I'll be right back with you. Okay, update time. Well, after a bunch of struggle bus action, I got it in. So what I did is I lifted the truck up with the lift, so that way the pan doesn't hit the steering. And but it's sitting on, the mounts are sitting in their place, and I've got 2 bolts holding the bell housing together, and well, it sure fits in there really nice. Really, really nice. All right, guys, well, I'm gonna call it a night for this. At least we got the engine in there, and it's bolted in. I'll figure something out. It's gotta be something. Toyota's got enough common parts around where I can figure something out. So I think the next thing I'm going to try and tackle now that I've got this in, other than the suspension problem, is I've got to get the stock fuel tank out and put the fuel injected tank in and get the lines in and all that. Once we get that hurdle covered, it should be in pretty good shape. Because as far as hooking up the wiring and doing the coolant hoses and whatnot for the heater and the radiator and all that, I don't think it's really gonna be that big a deal. It looks like it's gonna be pretty easy to do. So anyhow, have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right, so after doing a bunch of research on how to fix the oil pan problem with the 3RZ, I looked into suspension lift, looked into different oil pans, and came up with the solution is to do a 2-wheel drive T100 3RZ oil pan as a rear sump. Actually, a lot of people sell it as a kit that comes with a pickup tube, the dipstick tube that moves it to the side of the block. Anyhow, that'll clear the steering no problem. And so I think that's the way I'm gonna go. And it should be a lot cleaner than trying to lift the truck up and deal with all that crap. And who knows, maybe I might have to do that too. Anyway, we'll see, one problem at a time. The solution to the problem. Dipstick, pickup tube gasket, rear sump oil pan. All right, rear sump oil pan for the 3RZ. This kit comes with pretty much everything. Here's a pan. The pickup tube gasket, and this is a block off plate. This is an oil level sensor. So here's the plug to plug that off, and the appropriate bolts. And this is the relocation dipstick tube to put it on the side of the block instead of the front. And the correct dipstick with part number, oil pan plug with the part number. And unfortunately, this doesn't have a part number on it. All right, guys, it's another day. As you can see, I pulled the engine back out of the white truck. And so what we're gonna do is take care of a couple simple things. First things first is I pulled the oil pan off because that's the fix for the steering. All right, so got the new pickup tube installed. Basically, you can reuse the nuts here and one of the bolts. The factory front sump only uses one, so you'll have to come up with an extra bolt because there's two to hold this one on, the rear of it on. Not a huge deal. I think the next thing I gotta do is punch a hole out right there. That's where the new pickup tube is for the rear sump. And I believe there's a plug or something in there I gotta knock out so we can install the new dipstick tube. Okay, so this plug right here, it's just a little plug. You just take the old puncheroo there, just boop, knock it right out the bottom, and there it is. And then in theory, just slide it into there like that. Not sure where that bolts to yet. I'll have to do a little bit of checking into that deal. I just have to figure out what the fuck this bolts onto. It obviously bolts to something.